Up next is Mzwandile Mbeje, SABC News editor, opening up his diary and his notebook. Good afternoon. Welcome, Mzwai. Let's start with this issue around Starlink. I checked all the Sunday papers. And it's not even about Starlink if you read on paper at least what the minister Solimalatsi has written. But it's becoming clear that it's going to be a political hot potato.
It is going to be a big deal to us, especially because it's being connected to the visit to the United States. And not only that, I mean, we had someone who was part of the delegation who is not necessarily a government minister, a businessman, Johan Rupert, saying, President, please get the Starlink to operate in South Africa. A few days earlier, you would have seen Elon Musk in Qatar basically saying, I am not allowed to operate in South Africa because I'm not black. So you start to look at all those things. And then a few days later, you then get to see that there are regulations which will then make it possible for Starlink to operate here. Necessarily to us, the political organizations will not let it slide. I mean, even now, as you and I sit here, we know there are political parties out there. I think one of the main questions we want to know from them, so what is their take in these regulations that have been published? And the minister has already been called to Parliament to obviously explain to some of the parliamentarians, this is going to be a hot potato.
In fact, you speak about political parties. Just run me through them. I've seen a few that have already made their views known. I've not seen, maybe you did, but I've not seen the actual statement from the ANC, but I can sort of read between the lines which way they're going to go. Action SA has come out very clearly, and you're seeing quite a few of the political parties.
Oh, yes. And even if you see perhaps, obviously, Kusela Diko is not necessarily speaking for the ANC, but she is an ANC
That's where I was
person.
reading it from.
Exactly. So you can already see that there's a lot of things, there's a lot of answers they would want in certain areas. How was this taken through? But at the same time, and then, in fact, as I was reading some of these things, I was saying, perhaps what's going to be very interesting is to see the legislature holding the executive to account very robustly, because you have a situation where perhaps the members of the legislators, the committees, need serious answers, and then the executive. Remember, when you talk about the executive, you can't just single out one minister. Of course, he will be the one who will speak. But do you think whatever would have passed through would just be of his own, would not have been ratified by the bigger body, which is either cabinet or even the executive itself? So for me, it actually, maybe that's the beauty of,
Mzwai, I've got to pause you. We've got to take it back to copies there, because Samgele Masego, I understand, is on standby with the EFF leader, Julius Malema. Samgele?
Essence of the address here today in this particular area of Mzwandile, what is the main thrust of it? How are the chances looking for the economic freedom fighters before we get to other issues?
Well, we were here to deliver a message of hope to our people that Mzwandile has become a failed municipality under the previous leadership of the ANC and the current one, especially Kwakwati, Ward 16. We want to fix it, and we want to do it working with our people. Our chances look very high, and we stand a very good chance. Our people are happy to receive the economic freedom fighters. But you will know that we don't exist just for vote. We exist to conscientize our people on the ground. So if we convert 2-3 people to believe in the message of economic freedom, with that will be a big achievement for us. But we're going to put up a good fight. You can already see here, we don't want people from outside this ward. We're only dealing with people from this ward.
Mr. Malema, you spoke a lot about your safety, especially given the utterances that were made by Mr. Trump. We see also an increased number of security. Are you really fearful for your life? And secondly, just to speak about how do those utterances by Mr. Trump, how do they affect the EFF, especially going into the local government elections?
Well, I'm not fearful. As a revolutionary, part of being killed is one of those honors you must wear with pride. But I'm not going to be reckless. When he says to Ramaphosa, why is this man not in jail? Why are you not arresting this man? He simply means, why are you not killing this man? Because this man wants to kill white people. That's what he believes. And imperialism, especially the USA, it makes such remarks meaning something different. If you remember how they killed Gaddafi, they said no-fly zone and any other necessary means in Libya. And that meant Gaddafi is going to be killed. And that's how they took care of that situation in Libya. So we know imperialism killed. The president of South Africa was unable to defend the constitution of South Africa to say, this thing that you are accusing him of and saying to us we must arrest him. Firstly, we are a constitutional democracy and we are governed by the rule of law. The judiciary has expressed itself on this matter, including the highest court in the land. If I arrest him for that, then I will be violating the constitution of South Africa, which I must respect. He failed to do that. So when a president fails to do that, you have a responsibility to defend yourself. And that's exactly what we're doing. The EFF is more powerful now. Everybody else, all of you, including Samkelo, you said EFF is dead, EFF is irrelevant, and all of that, only to find it in the Oval Offices and to find it in the White House. And for a USA president to argue with the South African president who's in denial, who says this is just a small party, is so insignificant. He says that's not a small party. This party can gather 100,000 people under one roof in a stadium where I can't even see a single empty seat. You can't say that is a small party. We are not a small party. That's why imperialism is very scared of us.
Mr. Malema, how did you feel when you saw those videos of yourself being beamed at the Oval Office of President Ramaphosa, particularly noting the historical nature of Kill the Poor, Kill the Farmer song with a constitutional court judgment?
Well, I was not shocked necessarily. I knew that issue is going to arise, but that they will play videos, I was not sure. I didn't know all of that, but I knew that matter was going to arise. And I was very interested to hear how the president is going to defend the struggle song that the ANC has defended throughout the history of that song. He couldn't defend the song as a heritage. He couldn't defend the song as a struggle song. He couldn't explain the song that it doesn't in any means necessarily refer to literal killing of white people. It was used in reference to a white supremacist system of oppression in South Africa. He couldn't do that because he himself never believed in the struggle, and that was justified when he couldn't defend the struggle right at the White House. So we know for a fact that he threw the Constitutional Court under the bus. He threw the Constitution under the bus. He was not loyal to his oath of office to defend the Constitution of South Africa, where he should have pronounced that the highest court has ruled on the matter. I can't arrest him. Even if I wanted to, I have no powers. There is a rule of law in South Africa that needs to be followed. But they all understood the language, that the language is not arrest, it's killing. Yep. Why are you not killing him? Because he's going to kill white people. That's what he wanted to project, but he was not courageous enough. You have the whole former deputy president of the Youth League who sang this song, sitting there, not saying anything. The whole Minister of Public Relations, Kumbuzo Chaveni, I was with her in the Youth League. She was the youngest in Peter Mukaba's NEC of the ANC Youth League. She knows the history of this song. She's sitting there very scared. All of them shaking. The president himself shaking. Only 4 white Afrikaner males were confident. It was Rupert, the 2 golfers, and Steenhuisen. Why do you give Steenhuisen to speak in such a meeting and not give a minister of international relations? That department has been juniorized and is being undermined as a result. And that's what I asked him in Parliament, that have you juniorized this ministry? Are you playing with this important ministry? And we saw agriculture, a minister being promoted against the Minister of International Relations. Reason being the color of his skin more than anything else.
Have you engaged with any of the members of that particular delegation since that interaction at the Oval Office, like Kumbuzo Chaveni and Ronald Lamula?
No, I've not done that. I have no duty to do that. I have no relationship with them like that. So, but I will raise it in Parliament. When the president comes for questions, we'll sharply raise this matter, and I will sharply raise the matter where he failed to defend the struggle and the constitution of the Republic of South Africa.
Diplomatically, don't you feel as if the president was on the right footing not to engage President Trump and to present facts to him, because that wouldn't have changed the thinking of the US president?
So to engage in a diplomatic engagement which doesn't present the facts is falsehood. It's not diplomacy. Diplomacy, you say, with due respect, Mr. President, so many people have been killed in South Africa, and of this number, so many are blacks, so many are white. Majority of people being killed are black, and you do that in the best way you can. Ramaphosa can do that. He's got the temperament to can do that. I can do that. I can't do that. I'm going to be very aggressive and admit in one way. So Ramaphosa should have presented the facts. Look, he goes to Oval Office 2 days or a day after they released the crime stats, which means Ramaphosa was sitting there knowing the crime stats in South Africa. He still doesn't say, but this is not a true reflection. And then, what kind of diplomacy? Some is this one where you are shown a picture of another country and they say it's your country, and you are saying, no, if I clarify, it's going to be offensive diplomatically. Those are facts. Diplomacy never meant that. The truth must not be told, facts must not be put on the table. Anyone who has not made a follow-up after that press conference, they will never know that there are no mass graves of white people in South Africa. Our president was there. He has to be. The Minister of Intelligence, Mkhumbuzo Ntshavheni, was there. She's got all the intelligence information they required. That's why she was there, to say there are no mass graves of white people. There is no genocide. Even this video you are showing me is not South Africa. Because I asked a question. Oh, is this South Africa? Where's this? I don't know, but you must outrightly say, no, it's not South Africa. Because South Africa has got no place for mass graves of white people, and there's no genocide. But that is not the issue. We all know what the issue is. The issue is Israel. The issue is to push back South Africa on Israel, on Russia. The issue is to impose Starlink without following the necessary empowerment laws of South Africa. Okay.
Thank you very much.
That is the president of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema. They essentially saying that the diplomacy that was employed by President Ramaphosa is not in line with the South African constitution, saying that the president should have come out and defended the Kill the Poor, Kill the Farmer song, as that is political literature and heritage of this country of South Africa. A song that was chanted by the late Peter Mokaba, former president of the ANC Youth League, who is an idol and a political mentor to Julius Malema, also saying that Ronald Lamula, former deputy president of the Youth League, should have come out to defend this particular chant, and Mkhumbuzo Ntshavheni, the Minister of Intelligence and the presidency within South Africa. Pretty much Julius Malema saying that he will beef up his security. It does look as if his security has been beefed up here as he came to address these members of the Kwakwatsi community here in the Free State province.
Right, thank you for that. That's Mzwandile Mbeje live for you there from the area known as Kopis there a few moments ago, taking that doorstop there, Mzwai, with the EFF leader Julius Malema. So taking on the visit, and that's the other theme that you and I were going to cover anyway,
Yes.
About the visit to the United States by President Ramaphosa and the aftermath. Clearly, that's also going to continue to dominate, based even on the comments that Julius Malema was making.
Especially to us, because that visit ended up being about him. So that opportunity as a politician, in fact, I mean, when President Trump said, you know, that's not a small party, that's a big party, I mean, he was always going to capitalize on that. I mean, he himself is saying, we are not a small party. Even the people from outside say, we are thousands and thousands. So clearly, it will really, politically, remember, in politics, not everything is a tragedy, yes.
Yeah.
So some of it, you can turn it into your favor. Like what he's trying to do, trying to carry the momentum that in the world stage, they know about me, they speak about me. So how do I then advance exactly that which people know? So it's quite an interesting situation to us.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, I mean, how it plays itself out, for instance, in the arena of Parliament. Given, for instance, the comments made about John Steenhuisen, there have been a lot of people who have been reflecting on his comments in the Oval Office meeting, particularly that allusion to the reason why me and Mr. Ramaphosa, traditional, what do you call it, not enemies, but adversaries, let's call it that, political adversaries are now working together, is to keep exactly those kinds of people, calling them rebels. So I imagine that resets relationships between the different political parties.
In fact, very completely. But what also makes it even more interesting, because how John Steenhuisen characterized it, for example, to say, it is for us to stop the EFF and the MK. And then you saw, for example, in the social media, some people say, well, as you can see, guys, that you are being isolated. Perhaps it's the time you pull together because clearly you are the targets. And he was very clear on that one. Said, oh, well, whatever happens, we won't be together with those ones. We may be progressive, but we are going it alone. So it's going to be very interesting how this will play itself out in Parliament, as you have said. I think there are so many questions that will be asked. In fact, we were hoping something a bit substantive will be said about the issue of the Starlink, but I guess those are some of the issues that will come as we start to digest this news going forward. I mean, political parties, in fact, the EFF itself on its statement was very clear to say, we reject this.
Yeah, so it will be interesting. Thank you for coming through. Mzwai, that's Mzwandile Mbeje, SABC News political editor, opening up his diary and his notebook for you and giving you a glimpse and putting you ahead of the curve, really, in terms of political developments still to come.